Hey everyone, welcome to the Forward Thinking Podcast. It's Chrissy and Charlie here from CS2. And today we have another new episode of MOPS in 10. Today we're talking about why MOPS has an outcome problem. Do you think it's just MOPS or RevOps, everyone? We're speaking to all of you, I think. Any operations team, but mainly focus here on MOPS. And
I think that's an important point there, because I think it is operations teams. It's not like demand gen, because they are heavily focused on outcomes, like actual developing pipeline and stuff like that. It's the teams that are slightly removed from the obvious business outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess to start, why, what's causing the problem? What is an outcome problem? Like, what does that mean?
I think it's tough for people in operations, whatever your operations team is, to really get divorced from thinking in a project mindset versus, this outcome driven mindset. So the project mindset is that my job is to work on projects, deliver them efficiently, create, implement tech, fix data, deliver these components into my technology stack. And that is my job. And that is great. And I'm going to do that really efficiently. I'm going to measure like maybe how many projects I can do. I'm going to measure like how efficient my team is working. But like really what a business needs is true business outcomes. Mm-hmm. So when you are stuck in that mindset where like you're just focusing on delivering projects really well, yes, you're delivering projects really well, but what you're not doing is demonstrating your value to the business. And then then the issues with not demonstrating your value to the business is that the business might not value you as much. You might not get the resources.
Yeah.
You might not get the seat at the table, all of that kind of stuff. So,
and then you're just setting the expectation of like, we're just a team that gets a lot of things done. Right. It doesn't mean that it's like valuable things. And I think in a world where MOPS feels overworked and burnt out, do we really want to just be known for doing more and more and more?
Totally. Yeah. It's very much that kind of tactical mindset versus a strategic mindset.
Yeah.
So where we have this outcome problem is that, like I mentioned at the beginning, for demand gen, for sales, for, whoever, there's more like on that front line with revenue, they're able to show, or they're focused on revenue. It's obvious, right? I'm a salesperson, I'm driving revenue for the business. I'm a marketing person, I'm driving pipeline and revenue for the business. It's an easy metric to get behind, and everything you're doing is kind of like filtered through that lens and you're focused on that. Whereas for marketing ops, I think we really struggle to be able to tie ourselves to things like that.
Yeah.
But you have to just get a little bit more creative and really think about, what have I got on my roadmap, and how does that align to a true business outcome? And what you might find is that some things don't, and therefore you should deprioritize that on your roadmap. And you might find that some things do, and you just need to document how that's going to impact, and then figure out how to measure that.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to just be like, oh, I developed this thing and we drove more revenue. You want to be able to say, I built this and it drove this much revenue, or this improvement in the conversion rate, or, this improvement in the customer experience, which led to X. If you're able to show that and demonstrate that to the business and show that marketing ops doing that, it's going to make things a lot easier when it comes to getting more resources.
Yeah, definitely. I think also we've done a past MOPS in 10 where we talked about team coalitions. We talked about them working toward a common goal. And really a big part of that was outcomes. Like for each of our projects we're working on, that outcome is going to line up to our common goal, and we're going to measure that in a KPI. So I think, and I hear it from clients, oh, we want to do this like really important project. So I'll give an example. I have a client who's, they're starting in data pipeline and enrichment. They want to clean up their data and then they want to do enrichment. And then they said, well, I just don't understand how we can tie that back to our business objectives or to our goals. And I'm like, well, I think you just need to think a little bit outside the box. And the funny thing is that same client, our team's helping them redoing kind of the scoring model, we met the data science team after that, and they're saying, we don't have, we're not able to deliver any insights based on industry because we're lacking industry. And the whole goal of the marketing team right now is how can they increase their conversion rate from MQL to SQL? And part of that is how can we improve our scoring model? But then we can't figure out how to improve our scoring model because we lack data. And then that just brought me to me, okay, there you go. Look, improving data, enrichment, that's going to help you with your goal to increase MQL to SQL because your lead scoring model is going to be better because you have the right data. So it just takes like looking at, what are all of the things, what are all the other things that could be impacted? What are the important processes? How does that line up to our business goals? Like you said, you kind of need to be a bit more creative and think outside the box. And it's very likely that if it comes up as a big project to work on, there was a reason, and it probably will line up to a business objective.
Totally. Yeah. And I think the missing piece often is just documenting what that measure is going to be and then actually measuring it.
Yeah.
So like in your example, they're trying to improve MQL to SQL. And I'm sure we're going to probably help them to actually measure this outcome, but maybe in a different company, like you helped do some data project, and maybe it led to an increase in conversion rates, but you never stated before, this is the new feature or new initiative I'm working on. My hypothesis is that this is going to actually improve conversion rates. Mm-hmm. And I'm then measuring it before and after, like trying to control for other variables. And therefore I see that this actually did increase. So business, look, I increased basically SDR efficiency. I probably improved SDR happiness because they're getting better leads, which could probably improve SDR retention. Mm-hmm. It's going to improve pipeline generation. It's going to improve revenue. So being able to tie yourself back to all of that and then document that and then communicate it. Be like, okay, marketing ops team, we did this, mm-hmm. And I interviewed the SDRs afterwards, and they told me they're enjoying their job better because mm-hmm. of this, Yeah. Like really take that extra step to figure out the impact of what you're doing and the outcomes. And then, shout it from the rooftops, a lot of MOPS people like to sometimes be behind the scenes, but that's just doing yourself a disservice, right? If you're not really showing people the impact that is coming out of your work.
And I think part of it too is that mentality of just getting a lot of work done. Like you don't go back and actually treat something as big as it should be. So it's something as simple as like a nurture build. Well, you could take that simple project and say, okay, well, actually, we're going to figure out the best way to make this nurture, from like the strategy to how it's executed, and the delivery, like what stages we're going to include, stuff like that. But there's so many things after that nurture that you can do as far as like surveying your internal customers. Okay, and demand gen. How much easier was it to actually add new content to this nurture because we created a great template for that, for the email program? How, what was that improvement for the SDR team that now like there's more coverage to actually like better nurture their prospects and like, before they even hit them, and it's more tied to their persona. There's just a lot more that you can do and then also obviously there's email, right? Like you wait a certain period of time and you can compare, okay, how does this compare to our previous nurture? How well are the emails performing? How much better from the previous ones? And you can actually say that you boost engagement. And even going in with that goal of like, what percentage do we think we're going to do that is like an outcome that you can at least track toward. But it takes that time to look backward. You might even have to wait a few months and say, hey, we're going to come back to this. And then we're going to iterate on it too. And I think that's also, a common thing that we talk about. But when you get into this mentality as well, it's not just like getting that project done. It's also then reviewing it, looking at the details and then iterating. That might be in the next phase is to make that even better. And that's a new thing that you're working on.
Totally. Yeah. And I think sometimes it's helpful to give examples. So that I like that one. And then just a few more examples of maybe some metrics and measures that you can measure yourself on, like common projects that come up. So one is speed to lead. So if you've ever worked on, I'm sure you will have, like projects around, order of operations, like lead process, routing, tools like implementing tools like Chili Piper, meeting booking tools. If you're able to demonstrate like you did this work and the speed to lead actually went down from, salesperson following up went down from 24 hours to 10 minutes, and then see how conversion rates were impacted. And then the conversion rates on those that did get followed up really quickly, they ended up with this much pipeline. If you're able to show that data to someone, they're going to be impressed. That's going to be great. Another one is analytics. If you're working on a lot of analytics projects, really take the time to figure out, how am I going to measure people actually using this data? Like if you have a BI tool, you can see views on different dashboards. Even in Salesforce, like go back and check like how often it's refreshed. Sometimes you create a dashboard and you go back and it hasn't been refreshed for 2 months or something. And then go interview the stakeholders that you created it for and say, did you make decisions from this? Try and find some quantitative and qualitative data back from those people, to then be able to feed that information back to the wider team and say, okay, I created this dashboard. This team's been using it. I can tell that their confidence in their decision making went from like a 3 to a 10. Therefore, that is a business outcome, right? So again, just some examples of trying to really think about how to tie yourself to a measurable outcome, actually go back, like Chrissy said, to measure it, and then tell people about it.
Yeah, tell people about it is like one of the most important things that people miss. So definitely do that, whether it's on like a page in your intranet or a newsletter you send out to marketing or beyond that. But, summarize all of those and how you're making those impacts, and it just further proves your value. Cool. Well, hope you guys enjoyed that episode of MOPS in 10. Just keep thinking about those outcomes. We'll see you next time.